All right.
SMQBs, episode 134. This is Bison on temporary assignment coming to you from the thriving metropolis of Hagerstown, Maryland, in trial and doing a drive-by tonight. And I've got one number, and that is 11. That is the number of the month that I'm going to finally get this trial over with. It's probably going to be November before all is said and done in this one. Rooster from Richmond, what do you got for us?
I've got the number 3. The team that many of us picked to go to the Super Bowl from the AFC, or at least deep into the playoffs, the Cincinnati Bengals, are 1-3.
Wow.
They just lost to the lowly Tennessee Titans 27-3. And they are one of 3 playoff teams from last year that just suck. The Bengals, the Giants, and the Vikings.
I like it. That's a good use of your one number. Well done, Rooster.
Only you can use one number in such a large way.
No, I like it. That's perfect. Pope, what do you got? Come on.
I got 0. That's the number of games the Rangers will win in the postseason this year.
Oof.
Oh boy. Do you have your Braves hat on tonight?
I just might have that handy for our MLB update. I'm a 2-hat guy, as you know. No,
two.
Just 2?
Just 2?
Well, we got a little Orioles action too, but that's not one of my teams. But we'll talk about it with a Major League update. We can just go straight there if you want. But the Rangers shit the bed this weekend, even though they made the postseason. They have taken the hardest possible way to go, and it's going to be a short and a futile effort.
Well, yeah, let's jump into baseball because it is the postseason. We've got all the game times and everything coming out now. I think, from my point of view, one of the things that you gotta keep in mind for the postseason in baseball is the records don't really matter in these divisional series, in these wild card series, I guess, these first best of 3. It's really who's coming in hot. Right. I mean, I really think that is so important, at least for the wild card round.
Do you think that after the wild card round, though, it's like who's got strong pitching and who's got the experience that counts?
I just think that the Braves and the Dodgers are head and shoulders above everybody else in baseball, including the Orioles. Although the Orioles have just an unbelievable story. I mean, there's really no reason to look at them and think they would have been basically a wire-to-wire first place team and have the best record in the American League. But I think that I just think the Dodgers and the Braves are just, and honestly, the Braves are probably even a little bit above the Dodgers. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, here's the problem with the wild card. Yeah, the records don't matter, but they do matter. They matter because they dictate, and I might talk about this later in another part of our pod, but they dictate where the games are played. Part of the, I guess, compromise in allowing 2 more wild card teams per league was getting rid of any kind of playoff games if there was a tie. So, the Rangers tied the Astros, but since they lost in the head-to-head for the year, they are the lowly wild card team that is now having to go to Tampa, who is the highest wild card team. And they play 3 games at Tampa, no games at home. Same thing for the Blue Jays. They had to go to the Twins. The Marlins have to go to the Phillies, and the D-backs have to go to the Brewers. And I don't see any of those 4 road teams having any much of a chance to win 2 out of 3 on the road against good teams. I mean, they're in the playoffs.
I think the Jays can beat the Twins.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And honestly, that's the most possible. And
the D-backs could beat the Brewers too.
Yep. Agree there too. The Marlins.
Fuck the D-backs. All they had to do is win 1 game against Houston in 4 games, and they didn't. They suck.
Yeah, but Houston's a good team.
You're
And
right.
they-
Yeah, I mean,
Every end of the year they get better.
well, and I was going to say, yeah, you have Braves and Dodgers up there, no doubt, but Houston is always possible to catch fire. And they've got a really strong bullpen. Their lineup's coming around. They have seasoned guys. I think Houston against Baltimore in a 7-game series, I'm going to give the edge to Houston, just because of their level of experience. Those guys have been there, done that, and they tend to have strong playoff pushes at the end of the season.
I'll be rooting
ask you a
hard for the
question.
Orioles.
Yeah, I'm really torn on that because the Orioles were a favorite growing up, but I got to tell you that the whole thing with the Nats and the media rights, as we talked about, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, is a problem for me. But I think sort of deep down, I'd like to see the Orioles do well. I like to see the team do well. Let me ask you guys a question though. Talking about that, the way the wild card is set up, do you think that MLB would ever go to a neutral site for those games, those 3-round games? I'm sorry, 3-game round.
Oh,
I
would
don't
make
know. I mean,
sense.
yeah, it might make sense from a fairness standpoint, but I mean, let's say a team that didn't make it, that like Cincinnati, okay, nice stadium. We're going to go do a neutral series there. Who's going to go? I mean, it seems like the MLB would never give up the potential gate revenue that they're going to get, or the teams would ever do that.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to figure out how to make the finances work, but it might even be cool to do it like in a non-Major League Baseball city.
Mm-hmm.
Like
you want Fredericksburg Nats.
Yeah, right. I mean, that would be kind of cool. I mean, you'd have to find a venue big enough because of the gate, because of the finances of all of it, of course.
I think honestly, I think if say the Reds are out and you put a neutral site game in Cincinnati, those fans are going to fill that stadium to see postseason baseball. Same with Pittsburgh.
Well, yeah,
might be the best thing that's ever happened to Pittsburgh.
Go to the small market teams that have good stadiums where they haven't had playoff baseball in a while.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I
understand the concept that you've got a 3-game series and you have 3 wild cards, and you can't do it and still be playing baseball in mid-November. So you can't do a travel day in between. I get it. It's just frustrating that you have a team that ties the team that wins the division, and what they get because they lost the head-to-head is they get to go to the road and get punished by the best wild card team.
Yeah, this is why soccer sucks. Ties blow.
Exactly. But as you, dear listeners who are on our YouTube series, can now see, I've put on my second hat, which is the Braves hat, and I'm worried about the Braves guys by their starting pitching. Max Fried is out. He might not be back for the NLDS. That's questionable. Morton is out probably until the NLCS. Strider's doing great. Bryce Elder's doing great, but I don't know. They didn't beat the Phillies last year because of pitching, and that could be their downfall again this year, despite the fact that they are, just a wrecking crew with Acuna, Olsen, Riley, Ozuna, and the others.
What about the Dodgers, though? Isn't their pitching staff a little banged up?
Well, I mean, I haven't really studied, I guess, enough to be intelligent on that. I worry more about the Braves than I do the Dodgers. I mean, you got Kershaw. Who else for the Dodgers?
I mean, half of them are in jail or playing in another country now.
Yeah. Let me ask you, but Pope, on this, do you know what team led the league in home runs this year?
I want to say it was the Braves, but must not be since you asked that question.
No, it is the Braves. Do you know how many home runs they hit?
No.
307. Do you know who the team with the second most home runs was?
Blue Jays.
It was the Dodgers.
So Dodgers.
Ooh, gosh.
With 249.
That's a huge disparity. I get that, but
massive.
Yeah, but it's a 7-game series. The Braves will have home field. They do play well at home. I think we're a little premature maybe getting there, but and we don't have to pick all the way through to the World Series yet. But that's my reservation. I don't see. Other than maybe the Blue Jays, Rooster, you may have a point there. And Moose Jaw, I'll be rooting for you guys against the Twinkies, but I just don't see the wild cards being that competitive this year.
Interesting.
Milk, I think Milk that you're looking at taking out the Rangers in 3. I do think we'll get 1 win, but it won't. We don't have the pitching either. I mean, look at who's on the DL for the Rangers. Max Scherzer, Jacob deGrom, and now Gray. So, 3 of their best pitchers are shelved.
Yeah.
I just hope the Orioles make it to the World Series because it would be an excellent story, and also because it would mean the Astros didn't.
Yes. Yeah, and Bison, while we still have you on before you jump off to do your trial thing, you want to pour one out for the guy who's on my screen here?
Well,
Mr.
I mean,
Oriole?
yeah, I really probably should let it up to you because Brooksy was even a little bit before my time. I know Brooks is part of that lineage of sort of the Orioles way kind of thing, right? A guy who just played the game the right way. Probably, I'm thinking that House might disagree with this, but probably the greatest defensive third baseman ever to play the game.
I'd say in my lifetime, he was first, Mike Schmidt second, and Greg Nettles third.
Yeah. But,
I mean,
Robinson,
he was a human vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, that's right. And he was just the guy who sort of, played the game the right way, just, diving all over the place, making every play. A little bit of a different era of baseball. Certainly, you didn't have the home runs and that kind of thing.
Just go to YouTube TV and check out the ALCS against the A's in the early 70s, and watch the guy field balls with his bare hand and throw bullets to first base. Watch him field the ball 20 yards off the line and then throw a dart to first base and get the guys out. I mean, he was just incredible, and he was a better hitter than people give him credit for. I remember him with his filed off batting helmet. So the bill of the helmet was just barely sticking out. I guess he thought it helped him see better, but he was just a really awesome player and a great person by all accounts.
Yeah. It's really hard to believe that he's passed. I mean, quite honestly, he's just such an icon and a monument, a standing monument to himself, basically, for so long.
Yeah,
I have to admit, I saw some pictures of him, just recently before he passed, and it was really pretty staggering because he just, he aged obviously, and I'm not sure when he aged, but it feels like he aged a lot recently.
Right. Like it's the thing that strikes me is if you look at Brookes Robinson's recent images and like Boog Powell, who were contemporaries of Jim Palmer. And then you're like, how the hell does Jim Palmer look the way he does at that age?
Yeah. He's still doing Hanes Tidy Whitey commercials, right? Ads. So
when did you start following the Orioles? Obviously, there was no Nats when you started following baseball.
Yeah. So my funny baseball story is that when I was like 8 or 10, that age range, was when like cable TV became a thing. And the first station we had was WWOR, which was the Mets. So I was actually a Mets fan because I could watch those games. That's what we had. That's you turn the TV on, you got all the Mets games. Then we lost that channel, and it was like 1990 when we got Home Team Sports, and Home Team Sports was all Orioles. So really, like high school and college were my Orioles days because we had the games on. We had season tickets and we'd go to the games. So, I remember I think my senior year in college, I watched like 140 of 162 games, basically start to finish. And they went wire to wire that year, first place.
You were more of a Cal Ripken guy than a Brooks Robinson guy.
Oh, yeah, definitely. definitely.
When I was a kid, my two best friends were brothers. One of them was an Orioles fan, one was a Red Sox fan, and of course I was a Yankees fan. And we were just like baseball fanatics. We would collect cards and play poker for them and get into fights if you lost your favorite card. We would play these games in the backyard with a wiffle ball and a bat and a tennis ball. And we would keep averages, and you had to go through the lineup and bat in the stance of the guy.
Oh, that's fun.
So
That's
like
cool.
you'd have to bat left-handed, and you'd have to have the same batting stance. It was really funny. And so,
Oh, that is
I
funny.
became very familiar with the Orioles from the 70s through that.
That's funny.
One last personal anecdote on Brookes Robinson. So he went to high school in Little Rock with my mom, who was, I think, about
Here it comes, Bison.
one class younger.
He's got 3 teams in the
He's
playoffs
got 3
now.
teams.
And,
Oh my God! You know what? I was going to call you up, Bison, before this and say,
Yes.
what's the over/under on Pope making a connection through some relative to the Orioles?
As Ross Pro says, can I finish? So anyway, my mom and her group hung out with Brookes and a bunch of guys all throughout high school, and I've always heard about Brookes Robinson, since I was a little kid, and so they came to Birmingham, Alabama, to play an exhibition game against the Atlanta Braves back in 1973, and my dad took me down. I was what, 6? My dad took me down to the stadium, and we had Brookes Robinson come over and talk to us, and my dad mentioned that Corjane Pope was or Corjane Clark was my dad, my mom, and remembered her, and it was kind of cool having that conversation. So I've always had a special place for Brookes Robinson, and it was definitely kind of a shock when I heard that he died, and so age takes care of time, though. But sorry to see Brookes go, and pour one out for him, guys.
Yeah, pour one out for Brookes, and while we're at it, we might as well pour one out for Tim Wakefield and Russ Francis. Russ Francis.
Yeah,
two great players from back in the day.
My age, 57. That's just
that was
tragic.
That was pretty.
17 years with one team, the Red Sox, and if you remember, he was the guy who got the last 9 outs in that 2004 ALCS against the Yankees to send the Red Sox onto that improbable World Series appearance.
And I think 29 years total with the franchise, right? Because he stayed on as a scout or as a player development guy or something. And he was in charge of they're
big into the Jimmy Fund, the Red Sox, and he headed up that whole program for years. By the way, a little side story: the guy we all hate from the Red Sox back in the day, Curt Schilling. Without permission from Wakefield's family, on like his podcast, released the news of his brain cancer, and the Red Sox had to put out a statement basically apologizing that Schilling was such a scumbag.
Yeah, shocking.
And number 81, Russ Francis, was a number 1 draft pick by the Pats in 1975 and played there for a long time until he was traded to the Niners in 82 and helped them win Super Bowl in 1984. He was a damn good player and just died yesterday, I think, in a small plane crash in Lake Placid, New York.
Yeah.
Sad days.
Just to wrap up on baseball. So we've got tomorrow, Tuesday, game 1s. This is kind of fun, actually. You got 3 p.m. Texas and Tampa, 4:30 the Twins and the Blue Jays, 7 p.m. Diamondbacks and Brewers, and 8 p.m. Marlins and Phillies. So that's a fun day of baseball, right there.
Yeah, right.
3 straight days.
Yeah, that's fun stuff. So
because
enjoy that.
Yeah,
enjoy that tomorrow.
This weekend.
Well, Pope, congratulations on your 5 favorite teams getting in.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's sweet. You should be happy.
Go O's.
I do think there's a lot of sentiment for the Orioles.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
This guy would not be upset if they ended up winning the World Series. Bison, before you go, we need to get your take on the game on Sunday, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where the big line in Washington all day has been, There's no moral victories,
Right.
and nobody feels, nobody likes a moral victory. And I guess the best thing you could say is the players were devastated by that loss yesterday. Wacky game. They were up 17-7, I guess, at halftime. Gave up the lead, down 31-24. Sam Howell brings them back to score the touchdown with no time on the
Last
clock.
play of the game.
Riverboat Ron lost his balls.
And
Yeah,
then
what's up with
and then
Riverboat
Ron.
Ron? Is he
God,
getting
I don't
some heat
know.
for
I
that?
mean, yeah.
How do you
a
not
lot
go
of
for
heat.
two? How do you
A
not
lot.
go for two?
You got to go for two. His excuse was the guys were gassed. They had run that 2-minute drill, or really a minute 26 when they got the ball. They had been running up and down the field to get in position, and he just thought they were gassed. I get it. I
So
still
then you
think
want to
on
go
the
to
road,
overtime if you're
Yeah.
gassed?
I
So
know.
you know who else is gassed? The Philadelphia fucking
defense.
defense.
Yeah. So I think it's a no-brainer. You go for two. Look, Philly's a good team. They're clearly not hitting on all cylinders, but from a commander standpoint, and I hate losing. I mean, you guys know that. I don't think there's moral victories, but it was nice to see Sam Howell after the catastrophe the week before with 4 picks against Buffalo, that he came back. He didn't turn the ball over. He brought the team back. I mean, that's growth that you want to see.
Huge.
Disappointing because it's a game of inches, and if the call on McLaren's catch goes the other way on the field, it's Washington's probably winning that game.
That's right.
And
that was a hell of a pass.
Yeah, they're on the
great.
That was a elite quarterback pass right there.
They're on the Philly 45.
Yeah.
What is your take on the rule there?
His foot came down on the guy's
on the
hand,
arm,
and it was he was in bounds.
I will tell you, I don't know the answer to that. I haven't researched it. But what I will say is, just thinking about it, if you roll over a player, you're not down. So I'm not sure that stepping on the guy's arm would count as being in bounds. I think the bigger thing is
then you go out of bounds, though, so you are down.
Yeah, but I think the bigger thing is, I think the images show that his toe was in.
I think so too.
I thought there was a little green.
Yeah. Now again, that's one of those calls. If they call it a catch on the field, it's not getting overturned. They called it an incompletion on the field, so it's probably going to stay that way. The disappoint. I mean, obviously that helps you win the game, but if Ron goes for 2 and they make it, it doesn't matter.
If Reed Blankenship is laid out flat on the field instead of just his arm, and McLaren has nowhere to put that foot down but on the body of Reed Blankenship. I mean, what's he supposed to do?
I don't know.
There was no other place for his foot to go.
Yeah, I don't know what the rule says on that. That's and probably should have looked into that. I really, because of this trial, I haven't read too much about it. But anyway, it was look, good game. The big question is what's wrong with the defense. Although that's a pretty good Philly team with a lot of weapons, and AJ Brown sort of torched our rookie corner, at 130 yards, which helped me a little bit in fantasy, not enough, but anyway, I mean, it was crazy weekend again in the NFL. I mean, and listen,
I agree with you that there's no moral victories really. A win is a win, and for people to say, "Oh, the Eagles are a terrible 4-0 team," no, they're not.
They're a 4-0 team.
They're 4-0. They're not playing great right now, but they're finding a way to win every game so far.
Yeah.
And that's the mark of a really good team.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, at the end of the season, these little, barely winning these games could make the difference between having the number 1 seed and not. It's all about getting that 1 seed.
You know who else is talking about moral victories today? The Jets.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, win the game. They're bitching about the refs and they're talking about a moral victory. The Chiefs just find a way to win. Chiefs are not playing well on offense.
No.
Their wide receivers cannot get open.
What's wrong with Mahomes? I mean, what kind of some of the worst passes I've ever seen.
Yeah, but also nobody's open on that team unless it's
don't
Kelsey.
throw the ball.
Well, listen, I mean, I don't, I don't want to. It's not. I told you so, but let's not forget the enemy's not there, and he's in Washington. And yesterday, one team went against a very good defense, maybe the best in the NFL, and was able to score 34 points, 31 points, whatever it was, and come down and score. with no time on the clock, and the team that Bieniemy left is struggling on offense. Coaching matters. You know, that's
Yep.
another thing. You could say the same thing about the Eagles. Why are they not playing great? Why are they not playing great? Well, guess what? They lost both their coordinators. That kind of stuff makes a difference. You can't overlook that. And Philly will get it together. I mean, they're winning on talent right now, but there's an argument to be said that, you know, things aren't clicking because the coaching isn't the same.
Well, when you have bad coaching and you don't have a superstar on your team, that's a really bad combination. And I think that's what's going on with the Patriots right now. I think Bill Belichick's over the hill and needs to go at the end of this year. Game's passing him by.
Boy, he did not look happy on the sidelines.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked like he didn't have any answers.
Well, 5
Gents,
years.
I gotta go. I gotta get a.
Yeah.
Bail out of here. You got my pick. Have a good pod.
What
I'll
is your
catch up with you
your
later.
Plaxico pick? The Commanders.
Commanders. That's it.
All right. Good.
Just run with it.
It's a
See
good
you,
one.
boys.
All right.
See ya.
Good luck. Good luck.
Yep.
But we were talking about the Pats Cowboys game. I personally think the Cowboys exposed Belichick 5 years ago. If Bill Belichick had watched the Cardinals rip through the middle of the Cowboys offensive line with their running game, don't you think he would have figured out how to do that? Ramondre Stevenson was getting like 2 yards a carry, and then they just stopped trying.
Well, it's also possible that Dan Quinn figured out something over the week and made adjustments to the D line to stop the run, because he figured that's where they were coming from. But you know, look, Mac Jones
Sucks.
Boy, I think his time is probably past.
Yeah.
He's been given so many chances, and it looked like that pass he made. He might as well have called Deron Bland and told him he was throwing the ball the way that he passed it across the field. He almost got burned on it on a play earlier, but that was just awful.
He was responsible for the Cowboys defense scoring 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, from a fantasy standpoint, that was very helpful.
Yeah, that's what I told you yesterday. Mac Jones was the best player on your defense. For the fans, our 2 fantasy teams are playing each other, and I should have won that game, but the Cowboys defense pulled it out.
Well, you want a little update because your running back has -1 yard.
I know. I see that.
What's going to be interesting is the Cowboys are a little schizo right now. They laid an egg against the Cards, and they played really well against the Patriots. So let's talk about the Niners. You know, they're going to the Niners, and the Niners, they didn't struggle, but they let Arizona back in the game for a little bit.
But the Niners have not had a massive letdown. Every other good team has so far. The Bills, the Dolphins, the Cowboys, and the Eagles have looked just good enough, but not elite. I would say that and the Chiefs. The Chiefs lost the game. I would say that the Niners are the one elite team right now.
I agree. And I think that, we'll have a marker of how good the Cowboys really are next Sunday night, because they want to exact revenge for the last 2 years being booted out of the playoffs by the Niners. So that we're going to see how Dallas reacts, and if the 49ers, if the 49ers win, I think you got to say they're odds-on favorite in the NFC.
Yeah, and if the Cowboys win, I think you just throw away that Cardinals game as an anathema, and just they're so much better than that Cardinals game.
Right. And then but they're not, just because if they win the 49ers game there, I'm not sure that's going to say they're the best team in the NFC. But
no, but it puts them in that elite category, I think.
It does. It puts them back where they think, they think it's the Eagles and the Niners and the Cowboys. That's what the Cowboys think. Well, after last week, that's questionable. After this week, maybe true. We'll see next week. But what we need to talk about what happened to the Dolphins.
Right. I was going to say last week, I think we would have put the Dolphins in the elite category.
Sure. They were on a roll.
Right. And the Bills just gave them a smackdown.
It was ugly. Tua finally, they got to Tua and made him make some mistakes. And look, the Dolphins gave up 48 points, so I might be a little bit more worried about their defense right now.
Right, right. Although I think I think you really have to give it to the Bills. They just turned it around and played like the team we thought they were a year ago and 2 years
Right.
ago.
Right. It kind of takes away that week one, bad loss and put the Bills back where we thought they might be.
Seemed like
But
Josh Allen was not trying to do everything. He was trying to just execute the game plan well, and it worked.
But how do you figure out the AFC? Yeah, we talked about the Chiefs, but what about the Bengals? I mean, you mentioned them in your number.
They're horrible. He's hurt. He's too
He is
hurt to
hurt.
play. I think if you're gonna lose 3 out of 4 games, why don't you just do that with your backup and let him get well?
And I think there's some dissent now in the locker room. You saw what Jamar Chase said.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm always open. I mean, there's not a lot of love right now for the team. You know, the Titans, we don't know what to think of them. Is that a big win for them, or are the Bengals really that bad?
The Bengals are that bad, I think. The Titans, because the Titans are not good. And the thing that I think Jamar Chase was referring to was, I'm always open, and we've got a hobbled quarterback there, and our offensive line is not as good as we thought it was.
Yeah.
Burrows has no time to throw, and he's incapable of getting out of the pocket. So it's a bad combination.
Yeah.
And then when he throws, he's throwing off a leg that's all messed up.
Well, and we'd be remiss not to mention Milk's juggernaut down in Tampa. What do we think about them?
Baker Mania, baby.
He's baking.
He is. I'll tell you what. I think he and the rookie out of Florida who plays for the Colts, Richardson.
Anthony
to me,
Richardson.
are the two biggest surprises of the season at quarterback.
Oh, well, about C.J. Stroud. You want to talk about?
I thought he was going to be good.
Okay.
I did. I predicted that the Panthers would regret not taking him with the #1 pick. I thought Richardson was going to take a year or two to develop, and I thought that Baker was going to continue to suck. Baker's had a better start to his career with the Bucs than Tom Brady did.
That's a good point.
He has, and he's doing a damn good job. I'm shocked, but it's true.
Well, I mean, we all thought the Saints would probably win a really shitty South, but I think you got to think the Bucs. They're looking, at least as far as the South goes, it looks like it's their division to lose.
Yep, I agree because Atlanta's horrible. They can't throw the ball. The Saints are banged up, and Carr's got a shoulder injury. Carolina's maybe the worst team in the league right now.
Well, I think the Steelers are making a run for that too.
Well, and the Bears,
as are the Raiders.
And the Bears.
And the Bears. Oh my God, they had a huge lead and just choked it to the other worst team.
Yep. Who did the Bears lose to?
The
Broncos. Yeah, the Broncos.
They were up like, I don't know, 28-7 or something like that, and just totally the second half got blown.
If the Broncos had lost that game, holy smokes, would the fans have been coming down hard on Russell Wilson. Pope, you're on mute. You muted yourself. There you go. You're back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You can't blame Justin Fields. He was 28 for 35 with 335 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, although he kind of coughed the ball up at the end of the game unnecessarily.
That defense has to at least stop the Broncos, though.
So if I keep coming back to coaching hot seats. Why are teams clinging to some really bad coaches? And I think about the coach of the Bears and the coach of the Chargers every week.
So what
these guys are terrible.
14 losses in a row for the Bears.
Yep. And the
Bengals haven't
guy
lost.
in the Chargers seems to be going on it. Brandon Staley goes out of his way to make dumb calls every game.
You know, I think the Bears would make a change before the Chargers. You know, look, I wouldn't think Tomlin's on the hot seat, but boy, he was hot
Yeah.
after that game against the Texans.
Yeah. Maybe he needs a new offensive coordinator. Huh?
Well, I mean, they need a lot of things.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it should be interesting next week. There's some, like you said, the Cowboys Niners is a good game. It will reveal a lot about the NFC after that. We'll see. Let's move on to our Plaxico locks. We have so for the fans, we call this the Plaxico locks after Plaxico Burress, who managed to get himself locked up for a gun violation and blow the Giants' chance of back-to-back Super Bowls. But we each pick a team that's we think is a lock to win during a week and beat the line. And I forgot to look at what the last week's picks were. Do you have them? I think
I won.
here we go. Here we go. I
yeah,
got him here.
You got him.
Who'd you pick?
I had the 49ers, I think.
I think you had the Cowboys, unless I'm looking.
No,
at
I had
wrong
the
week.
Cowboys. I had 49ers were suicide pool. Get them all
Yep.
confused.
So you had the Cowboys.
Yeah, and I think
Milk
I
and Bison had the Chiefs. They won, but didn't
cover.
cover.
You know
House had
why?
the Chargers.
Because Mahomes slid on the 1
Yeah.
yard line.
Yep. House also won with the Chargers. So I think, and I had the Eagles -7. Of course, they didn't cover, even though they won. So I think you, House, and I are 3-1. Milk is like 2-2, and Bison is 1-3.
I think that's right.
So this week, Bison has just announced his pick is the Commanders -7 over the Bears.
Yeah, that's what my sheet says.
And what about you, Pope? What's your pick?
So I'm going international. I think the Bills are going to go on a roll, and although the Jaguars, they're staying in London, I think, because they're playing back-to-back games in London, so maybe they'll be more acclimated. But I think 5.5 is too juicy to pass up. So I'm taking the Bills, given the points at my Premier League team, Tottenham Hotspurs, home field, where they'll be playing on Sunday morning. So give me the Bills.
And House also took the Bills. Do you know who Milk took?
Did he not get his pick in?
I didn't see it. Let me check. We'll get it later if we don't have it.
Yeah.
Just take a quick pick here.
Either that or just give them the Bucks. Who are the Bucks? Oh, the Bucks have a bye.
Yeah.
This is our first bye week. All you listeners out there with fantasy teams, make sure you check your rosters because we are now in the bye weeks.
Yeah. Some like the Browns defense and Justin Herbert. I don't see a pick for Milk. We'll have to get that from him later. I was going to take the Bills too, but I feel like I shouldn't just I should mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I think the Commanders are a good pick. I'm going to take the Lions -9 against the Panthers.
Lions are playing good. I mean, we haven't even talked about them this week, but yeah.
I really should just take the Dolphins against my Giants, who are just awful. But every time I do that, I jinx myself and they cover the spread or win the game.
Right.
Same thing whenever I pick the Eagles, they win but don't cover. Anyway, we'll get our lock from Milk and keep everybody posted. Pope, why don't you tell us the results of the Ryder Cup, and then we can talk about, in hindsight, did we really pick the best team we could have sent?
Sure. Well, I predicted, as opposed to somebody else on this pod who's not with us, that the Europeans, who actually, I think he guaranteed that the U.S. would win, actually in a blowout.
Yeah, its name
and he-
rhymes with mouse.
Look, there's a reason that the U.S. hasn't won now in 32 years on foreign soil. Or by the time we come back, it'll be 34. It's because the Europeans kick our ass in Europe. They come out strong. It's like we go to sleep on Friday, Thursday night. We wake up on Friday morning, and we're already down 4 points. They ran the table in foursomes against us on Friday morning. And so the whole time we're trying to chase that 4 points, and ultimately they lost 16.5, 11.5. They lost by 5 points. Now, the U.S. did show some fire finally on Saturday afternoon with Hatgate, when Patrick Cantlay made a 43-foot birdie putt to at least secure a half point, and then McIlroy and Fitzpatrick missed makeable birdie putts. So the U.S. got 1 point, but it was the Joe LaCava, Cantlay's caddy, versus McIlroy and the Shane Lowry, which caused a bunch of controversy. I think it was, kind of over the top, whatever. But the Euros came out fired up on Sunday and took care of business. The U.S. had a little bit of a chance on Sunday in singles, but couldn't get it done. And they only could look back and see, what the records were of some of their longtime best players. Right, Jordan Spieth had a horrible tournament match. He got what? Did he get 1 point? He got 1 point.
1
He was
point
0-2
yesterday.
and 2.
Yeah.
The world's number one, Scotty Scheffler. He didn't play bad golf, but he was up against Rahm, in the best singles match I've seen in a long time, that ended up being halved on 18. But Scotty only got 1 point. You can't have your number one player in the world only get 1 point. Ricky Fowler, hello. He
Yeah.
played 2 matches. He got benched after his first match when he just looked horrible, and he then finally played in the singles match, and he was the one that Fleetwood got the final half point they needed or point they needed, and Ricky conceded a putt that you probably should have made him putt it, because it was for the turn, it was for the match. Max Homa, he's only one from America who played really well. And then look, McIlroy guaranteed a victory when they were at Whistling Straits, and he played. He backed it up. He got 4 points. Tyrrell Hatton played really well, 3.5 points. Victor Hovland, who's how do you not like that guy?
Right.
3.5 points, and he and that Aberg, the rookie, got just fleeced Koepka and Scheffler 9 and 7, the worst Ryder Cup match loss for foursomes ever. So America, very embarrassing performance. They'll 2 years from now they'll be at Bethpage. Pretty sure Americans, especially up in New York, are going to be fired up to take the cup back. But you want to talk about looking in the rearview mirror, though, right?
Yeah, I just have this feeling like PGA golf is an individual sport, and guys get away from college and they're no longer team players. They're individual players. The Ryder Cup is a team sport, and the Euros get that better than we do. And they that's why sometimes you'll see some older players on their team who aren't having great years.
Sure.
But then they perform during the Ryder Cup.
Ian Poulter was that way.
Yeah.
Hell, Sergio
yeah.
was that way.
Sergio was that way. So we throw out these
The
guys
Laffa
like
ball was that way.
we throw out Wyndham Clark and Brian Harmon and Sam Burns, and sure they've had some impressive individual tournaments recently. They don't have any experience winning at the Ryder Cup. And then you have Fowler, who has nothing but experience losing at
Right.
the Ryder Cup. Why are we picking these guys? I mean, I think that's part of the problem.
I really would have liked to have seen Keegan Bradley on this team because that guy is so intense. I just don't see any way that he would have had the kind of performance that Ricky did. And look, JT, you can't blame JT for the loss. He did not play great, but he didn't play as bad as some people feared. I mean, Jordan Spieth played worse than JT, and Jordan, was a no-brainer pick.
Mm-hmm.
But look, the elephant in the room, as we say, is the live guys who were on the sidelines. I mean, you can't tell me that having Bryson DeChambeau wouldn't have hurt our chances.
Well, why did we have Koepka?
Well, so Koepka almost qualified because of his PGA win, and he was number 7 out of they 6 qualify automatically, and then they get 6 captains pick. So Koepka was 7. So and all the captains basically they were like, look, I mean, he basically qualified automatically. You're not gonna not give him a bid, but like DeChambeau and DJ and some of those guys, they weren't even in the running. They didn't come even close. They didn't play well in the majors to even get points.
Right.
Look,
Right.
would you like to have had DeChambeau on some of those drivable par 4s? Yeah, like on 16, he would have probably hit like a driving iron and 300 whatever yards to get on the green. And DJ, another guy who can hit the ball long. So my guess is in 2 years, Rooster, that this will all be sorted out, and that we're going to see an American team that looks very similar to the one we had at Whistling Straits, and the firepower will be back. That's my guess.
All right, we'll see.
But the Euros, I mean, they have 2, 3, and 4, and they have Fitzpatrick, and they're just getting better. So, disappointing for the U.S., but overall an enjoyable and fun Ryder Cup as they always are.
All right, let's move on to Punchable Face of the Week. I have one.
All you.
This high school football coach in the Cleveland area named Tim McFarland on Monday resigned after admitting that he and his team were using the word Nazi as a play call in a game against a team from a predominantly Jewish suburb of Cleveland.
Oh.
And when called out by the opposing coach at the halftime, he just admitted it. Like, yeah, that was our word we were using for certain plays. We'll just change the name. And no apology at halftime, nothing. Like this is normal behavior to be doing that to a team from a Jewish community. So finally, of course, the shit hit the fan and he resigned. But this Tim McFarland gets a punch in the face for just being a despicable, horrible influence on children. This guy should never be allowed to coach children again in any capacity. You make me sick, Tim McFarland.
That's a good punch.
Just terrible, especially in this day and age when so much of that crap is going on, and to be teaching kids that kind of stuff. I just can't even get my head around that. Do you have a lasso to counterbalance that awful
I wish
behavior?
I did. I don't have a lasso this week.
Yeah, I don't either. How about some buzzer beaters?
My buzzer beater is going to be, since we didn't talk about it, college football. We not a real big week last week. I guess we saw Milk's Gators get exposed for the fraudsters they were.
Mm-hmm.
They lost to a basketball school. They got blown out by a basketball school by Kentucky. But we've got some big games coming up this week. Texas is going to play OU at the Red River Rivalry. Both undefeated. Possibly Texas's most difficult game before they would go to the Big 12 championship, where they may play Oklahoma again. But I'll be there on behalf of the pod, embedded, and we'll report on that game. But it'll be a fun game. Texas, I feel like they're not going to have a letdown. I'm looking for a big win on Saturday, and then my Crimson Tide going to College Station to play a surprisingly strong A&M team, and we'll find out if Alabama is truly, going in the right direction after last week, and can Jimbo knock Nick off again? Boy, he would dearly love to.
Mm-hmm.
So those are my buzzer beaters.
Yeah, I just want to shout out to the Buffs. It was good to see them rebound from the ass whipping they took from Oregon and hang tight with USC. I really think they were one possession away from winning that game because they were scoring at will towards the end there. They just still need some defense. My other buzzer
they get that onside kick. Yeah, I think they score. And don't you know, Coach Prime is not going to be like Riverboat Ron. He's going for 2 to win that game.
Yes. And the Mets and Buck Showalter have parted ways, as if it's Buck Showalter's fault that they paid a gazillion dollars to 2 old guys whose arms gave out, and then one of their other pitchers got traded away, and then another one hurt his arm, and the whole team underperformed. Sometimes it's on the players, and sometimes it's on the GM for making really stupid decisions about lineups. I actually hope the Yankees pick up Buck, but they're not going to, because they just announced today they're re-upping Aaron Boone as their manager because of the great job he did last job.
For his great job.
Yeah, they're still rewarding him for hitting 1 home run against the Red Sox all those years ago. That's what it boils down to. Anyway, that's all I have. You got anything else, Pope?
I don't have anything else. We miss our comrades. We wish Bison good luck in trial. House getting ready for a big trial. Milk putting the kids down, I guess.
Milk's busy with the cutest fans that we have. That's all I can say.
Absolutely, yes.
All right, guys. Well, hopefully we'll all hook up next Monday. Good job,
right, everybody.
Pope.
Enjoy the Major League Baseball. It's going to be a long slog.
It's going to be a good day tomorrow. Bye.
All right, see ya.